Good morning, everyone. Firstly, apologies. Usually the first thing I do is put up a preview video at least 12 to 24 hours before, so you see it on the front of my homepage on my channel. But for some reason, I did everything else. I did a little shout out to tell you about this stream on my Instagram. I did it on my community feed on YouTube. And I did it here and there. And the last thing I forgot to do was the main thing, which is a little preview thumbnail that sits on my channel's homepage. And I just remembered when I went on this morning that to start this stream, as in now 15 or 10 minutes beforehand, you go in and there's that stream waiting just to click start. And it wasn't started. So anyway, good morning, everyone. I hope it might be a nice little change, a nice little group of people dropping in instead of a whole hundreds and hundreds of people that I can't get to in the comments. Sometimes I feel a bit bad that I'm skimming through the questions and I don't get to everyone. But if not many of you drop in today, it's my own fault. I didn't preview. I didn't let you know early enough. Anyway. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting point because I've experienced it a few times where I noticed it wasn't just when you have sort of secrets or things that you can't tell everybody that's a bit sensitive, or you only know very particular types of people will get it. So you keep everything to yourself. And I've noticed that sometimes the worst thing you can do is keep everything to yourself. Bottling everything up, it's like a pressure cooker. There's only so much you can internalize. If you just internalize everything, if it's swimming around you like a herd of cats, you have to make sense of it, and that's what thinking's for. It's what writing's for with me. But also the ability to verbalize with somebody, if nothing but for the ability to hear yourself think. Not just think, because sometimes that voice, it's like you're listening to your superego, where it's your overbearing parental figure talking down to you, kicking you, telling you you're not a good person, you should have done this, idiot. But if you can actually talk, what talking does is subdue, organize, or civilize sometimes the voice in your head. So when you write maturely, you write civilly. And in so doing, then you can actually learn to think and speak better, if that makes sense. So I think especially the important stuff in your life, what another person helps you do, and another person that you can actually express the deepest parts. And I know it's hard. It's very hard to find those people. Sometimes you can't. What it does is it helps you really express your deepest thoughts, and helps you hear how you think by how you speak. I've said before that what writing and journaling helped me do when I was trying to work things out, because I really didn't have any people to talk to in the way I wanted to speak, was I started to see on paper how I thought. Like, it's easy to just think thoughts and feel things. And maybe that's what will help you guys appreciate what I appreciate. A lot of guys say, oh, well, it's just feelings. I don't want to write down my feelings. But your feelings are swimming around in your head regardless. Wouldn't you rather organize them in a logical way, as in through your voice, lexically, and articulate them? I think that's the real power of not just writing, but expressing through talking to somebody. And if you can talk to someone deeply, that's as close as you're going to get to writing on your own. And that's why I created my YouTube channel. That's why I've been able to been fortunate enough to talk to some of you guys that are like-minded, that understand, or even if you're not like-minded, the kinds of personalities that can listen to another point of view. I've noticed it time and time again, especially guys, younger guys who have overbearing parents, their mother and father put them down with every turn. They come to them with amazing news of what they now want to do. Thanks, Fudman, for the donation. I appreciate it. It's really hard. I suppose when there's bad things you don't want to tell anyone, that's probably not as bad, right? Because part of you already knows, okay, that's not a good thing. I did something I'm not proud of. Why should I tell anyone? I've got to come to terms with it. It's good not to let that out. So then you don't let it out in action either in life. But say if it's something positive, you want to share happiness with the world. You want to share something you've done, something you're about to do, you've put into place. You've got the courage to, like, I'm going to do this. I'm thinking of buying this. I'm thinking of doing this, like a big thing. I'm thinking of moving here and buying a house, or I'm thinking of moving in with my friend, or changing my job. And I'm really happy because it's for A, B, and C. And then you'll have overly negative people, not constructively criticizing people, but overly negative people saying, you don't want to, you got your security now. Are you sure you want to do it? Whereas you could have the courage for the first time to be sort of moving in a positive direction in life. But am I too high here? It's better. So that kind of stuff. I've noticed a lot of guys. So I've noticed that it's not just the bad news, it's the good news too. And a couple of you, I think one of you guys actually said that Jordan Peterson said something similar. I looked him up and yeah, he said the same thing. I looked it up last night. He said a good friend, where did I write it down? He says, how to tell if someone's your friend. He said, you can tell them bad news and they'll listen. They won't put you down, and they won't tell you they've had it worse, and they won't start talking about their story about how bad they've had it. But also, more importantly, and what I was trying to touch on in my previous video was, you can tell people good news and they'll help you celebrate. I mean, obviously, if there's a danger, you say, I'm going to jump out of a plane without a parachute. They're going to warn you quite sensibly, and that's subjective. But I'm talking where it's always subjectively negative. Have you ever met those people in conversation, or you've got friends or acquaintances where you know that this person in the group, if you say the sky is blue, they'll say, well, not always, sometimes it's orange at sunset. And it's like, okay, man, I know. So they're always an oppositional person. And they're always a contrarian. Those are the kind of people I'm talking about, where you can't express growth. That's probably the word. You can't express growth or happiness or moving forward because they're going to tell you, no, stay back. They're going to pull you back down to their level. Or basically, they might be higher than you or well forward in life, maybe in a different direction. They can't understand yours, but because of their narrow-mindedness, they want to keep you down where they can understand you. That's where they see you. No, you're down here, or you're in this little box over here. You want to move in another box that's got nothing to do with me, but no, I don't like it. It's not comfortable. And there'll be some comments later. I'll show you that some of you very astute guys put down. You guys put down some really, really interesting comments under this video. As always, guys, if you want to ask a question, write it, put some emojis in the super chat on the right hand side. Boffin, how are you, man? Finally had a conversation with Boffin. I wasn't disappointed. Great guy. We should do a conversation one time, man. A recorded one. Is my am I a bit too bright? Fudman, thank you for the super chat. He says your channel is equally truthful and helpful, coming from the other side of the globe. Pittsburgh, PA. Is that Pennsylvania? Is there another Pittsburgh? Maybe that's the only one. PA. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for chiming in. Got 152 viewers. Wet Palette Warrior. Ambition has been a great negative connotation because it's associated with masculinity. And just being handed the rewards of ambition like a bouquet of flowers is a feminine trait these days, it seems, for the average woman. MGTOW Thread says, your perspective is yours and yours alone. That's true. But I've found I've grown further by my ability to express it to others. Not in defiance all the time, because that can be good. You know, I'm here, you plant your flag. But also to make it real and not just have it some sort of unseen, unfelt feeling in the back. When you sort of give it form with ideas, then words, and then it goes out there and it becomes real in the world by sound, and you can hear it and other people know it as well as you hear it coming out of your mouth. There's a liberation in that too. So there were quite a few comments under the video where I asked the question, who can you talk to? Who can you confide in? And people say, no one. Don't bother. You can't trust anybody. Keep it to yourself. Only tell your therapist because there's an NDA, all those kind of things. While I'm not going to disagree with any of them, but to be astute enough for yourself in the first place, to be astute enough to recognize who you can talk to within limits. So to sort of be switched on enough for your own sake, so you can be switched on, right? Switched on enough to dip your toe in a conversation where you try and see how much if the other person can talk in that direction. You know, sometimes you've been around people and say the topic's about men and women and you might know quite a bit about it or have your point of view, whereas everyone's kind of fairly pedestrian in their knowledge and their perspective. And you all start talking, and then all of a sudden you hear someone say something very refreshing that you only tend to hear in the manosphere, or you dip your toe and say something very lukewarm, very pedestrian in the manosphere to the group. Like, statistics show that, 75 to 80% of women initiate divorces, blah, blah, blah. And then you hear someone talk back and forth with you very rationally and very interestingly with you. That's the kind of thing. Dip your toe and see who you can trust little by little. I'm not saying jump off that cliff to trust people, but trust your senses enough to see who you can express to so you can grow. It's not about them. A lot of times, guys, other people, if you can find good people, they're the vehicle by which you can grow. It's not about you giving them stuff so they can hurt you. Don't do that. I'm never advocating that. I'm saying people and things in life, your hobbies, your interests, all the stuff you love doing, that's a vehicle by which you can grow. Other people can be vehicles by which you can grow. But the beauty of that is that you give as well through them. So if you're expressing your ideas through them, sometimes think about what I'm doing. I'm not saying in any grandiose way, but I'm just telling you my ideas. And there's a few guys that always say, I only thought I was the only one that thought like that, or I was going through these things. But thanks, human, like I don't have any friends. I can't talk to anybody. But now I know I'm not the only person. I do a lot of guys go through this. You get it out of your system. You understand it by talking, and you put it out there in conversation where other people can have handles by which they can grab onto their own ideas and their own problems. It's a win-win. It helps others. It helps you. Mr. Smith says, I was a dreamer in my childhood and spent my time in my head. Even today, I rarely share my thoughts, experiences with friends or family. I was that person for a very, very long time. And then I actually saw little bit by little bit, when I'd come across that rare person where I could share my ideas, how alive I felt and how much I grew, and how a conversation or an insight or an observation in the world or something I read, basically something outside of me, but especially with another person, a rare person, afterwards, it would get me thinking more. And so, you say you spend a lot of time on your own, or you did when you were a kid, but I did too, well into adulthood too. I wrote a lot, I drew, I did a lot of creativity and expressed myself a lot. What it does, these interactions, they give you more ideas to express yourself. They give you more thoughts by which you can know yourself. So that's why I say other people are great. Find good people. Wet Palette Warrior. Lots of indecisive people around human. Does that mean there's a lot of indecisive people around me? Or a lot of indecisive people, human, as in you're talking to me? Christopher says Stardust put out a new video that was excellent on others and abandonment. I have to look at it. I haven't seen it. He always does good stuff. Subscribe to him. If, what are you, living under a rock? You don't know about Stardust? Go and subscribe to him. Hey, Red Sings the Blues. Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, I'll go. I've been busy this week. I'll give you a shout back. I think you sent me an email. We'll have a chat. This last week and a half has just been uncharacteristically busy. I've been run down, tired. I don't know why. It's one of these weird moments. The last couple of days haven't felt like that. I felt normal, but the last week and a half prior, I don't know. Age. Wet Palette Warrior says again, empty people seem taken aback when you point out that not all their problems are caused by the external. A few newbies in today. Hi guys and gals, whoever, I can't tell if you're male or female. All right, we've got about 200 people on now. BP Brainiac, thank you for the super chat. He says, hi human from Santiago, Chile, literally the other side of the world. I've seen that a lot of quote unquote friends show bitterness when I achieve something. They do. I'll be reading a comment from a very astute person who relayed a similar story. And he had an interesting observation. A lot of times when people keep pulling you down from you expressing happy news or from you growing and taking steps forward, I think it's that you're taking steps, they feel like you're taking steps away from them, as though they like you where you are. And now that you've got good news, they can see that it's potentially going to take you away from them. So their defense is to pull you back towards them in place where you've always been. But they overcompensate in the guise of happiness and saying, oh, you really should be, do you think you should be doing that? So I think that's what happens a lot of times. Not to say that what they're doing is right and you should excuse it, but you've got to be aware enough to trust your own instincts and know where you've got the will to go forward, and where that might play out in your friends and people that supposedly care about you, because they probably still do care about you, but how they're expressing it might come from fear, a fear of being abandoned by you because you've got good news that's going to take you maybe further from them, or you're not going to be in their lives as much, or you're not going to be as useful to them in your life. John says, what do you do if you don't have a therapist? Find simpatico people online, people you can talk to. Try and find friends as much as possible. The best thing you can do is have great friends in your life and people around you can talk to. And that's why I'm saying keep testing, keep trusting in little fragmented bits where in conversation, if the topic's there or you want to talk and you want to ask them, I want to talk about something. I'm thinking I'm going through blah, blah, blah. Or what do you think? Or frame it as a hypothetical. You don't have to say it's your problem, because people sometimes don't want to, this is heavy, don't tell me your problems. But if you make it lighthearted, like it's an idea saying, hey, Joe, Jim, Bob, what do you think about blah, blah, blah? And it's something you're struggling with or you've got a problem with, as a lighthearted hypothetical, and then see what they say. You'll find your friends that don't like talking deeply, philosophically, or introspectively. Find the people you can talk to. I would say a therapist should be your last choice, because what a therapist is someone who'll listen. They're not going to really tell you, or a good therapist shouldn't tell you what to do. You should be talking to them, and they sit there mainly listening and reflecting things back to you and asking you questions back. So they don't tell you things. They're not prescriptive. They're descriptive, but they're more an ear to you, so you can, in a non-disclosure sort of way, sit across for them, talk, finally let it out. Someone's listening to you, not just talking at you. And so if you can do that with friends and people in your real life that you can make a good judgment with first and foremost, that's the best thing, because you're trusting yourself to find who you can talk to, rather than just paying someone with your eyes closed going, well, cross my fingers, this person's a professional, they have to listen to me. But who knows if they're your kind of person? You don't know if they're a girl power kind of, they have that kind of mentality, or they can really see things and appreciate it from your perspective and really listen to you as an individual. Because don't forget, therapists are just another human being. You don't know what they're like in their real life. And a lot of them, in fact, most people, we are human beings. Like, no matter how stoic you think you are, if someone starts talking about a subject that you're touchy on, no matter how plain and objective you want to be, you'll sort of get your back up and be a little bit defensive, and you'll be fighting that defensiveness. So I'd say a therapist for that reason, because you're just crossing your fingers with blind luck and trusting that they're a professional. A lot of people have to go through a lot of therapists before they can find someone that they feel a modicum of comfort with. So friends, family, people around you, keep trying to sort of be a little bit social, just so you can find one or two people that you feel comfortable with, or even online. But therapists, for me, is a lot of luck. And if you're at the point where you need a therapist, it means you really don't have anyone in your life. There's no way to get it out. You can't work it out yourself. And on top of that, you're going to burden yourself with being level-headed enough to astutely find someone who you recognize is sharp and in line with you. If you could do that prior to finding them, you'd be able to work a lot of things out yourself. So you're just adding a lot more burden onto yourself mentally. Emilio, thank you very much for the super chat. I'm very grateful for that donation. Cheers, man. Thanks for chiming in. We've got about 240 people at the moment. Collegaro from LA. Hey, man. All right. Myrtlefoot. Human, you have my glasses to a T. These are the only ones that aren't broken now. These ones are effed. I had to put tape around them, which prompted me to get another pair. But before I did, I thought, maybe I should get my eyes tested again, because I haven't had them tested since 2012. Luckily, I did. Maybe that's why I was feeling out of sorts and run down the last couple of weeks. My eyes have actually changed a fair bit since my last eye test, and so no wonder I've been tired. So got my eyes tested, and I need a different spec of reading glasses, and so I'm waiting for a couple more to come in. These are the only ones, but these aren't actually great technically. Hey Darren, how you going, man? Darren's a guy I know in my personal life. We should catch up for a coffee. Haven't seen you in a while. Nexus974, thanks for your super chat. I appreciate you liking my content. Like and subscribe, guys. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Help the channel out if you can, if you appreciate my content. You want me to keep throwing you videos and ideas and sharing what I think about whatever that might hopefully help you. Because this is the thing, I love doing this stuff because I'm always writing, I'm always producing stories, I'm always thinking about things that I think that are important in life and putting them down, and now I'm putting them down in video. And I think in the same way when I read books, see videos where people have done that, and I'm thinking, I'm really grateful you took the time to sort of do a little video. Creatively, you wanted to express it, but you had a really cool insight, and I thought that was really great. That helped me make sense of things, or put on glasses, so to speak, and finally see things in my life clearly that were in line with that subject. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys who are subscribed and liking the channel and helping, and especially the comments in the comment section. Man, that's great. You guys, whatever I'm talking about, a lot of you guys in the comment section, that's what I'm most proud of. And I hear a lot of people saying your comment section is really great. I love the conversation going around what I think are very important topics. And you guys put a flood of your own experiences and insights, which I try and share. It's another big reason I'm doing these live streams, to give back to you guys. Because of some of the great comments you leave behind that give me further ideas to bounce off into other videos. And I feel like, oh man, that's a great idea. Great insight from whoever in the comments. And I feel like, I've already made the video, but I can do these things and share them further, or make another video because the comment was so good. So keep it coming, keep liking, keep subscribing, keep it growing. Because it's not just that I like doing it, and you guys give me a reason to do it because of this feedback and interaction and subscriptions and helping the channel grow, but also because it kind of keeps everything, the ideas spreading. And it's helping a lot of other people. Web Palette Warrior says, do you have a pocket journal for thoughts that come to you whilst you are out and about in the world? Yep. I'm always carrying around something like this. So I've got them here. I've got them in my work bag. I've got them on my desk and table in the other room. I've got them here. So I've always got a journal, a little notebook to write down ideas. I write them in my phone when I'm on a walk or out and about. So I'm obsessively writing. And what it does also is I'm always, my mind's always working, and a way to quieten it down and not think about it is when a good point comes up is to kind of put it down, and then you've kind of released it and you know it's safe in the book, but you don't have to always be thinking about it to help you not forget. So it's a way of expanding your ideas and your ability to think forward and broadly, because you're constantly noting down really important things that you think are important. If you don't, sometimes you get like a nervousness of like, I'm going to keep thinking around this idea. I don't want to let it go. I don't want to let it go. You got this attachment to an idea, rather than letting the idea, the very important idea, go on paper or somewhere. Then you can say, okay, it's not lost. It's there. I can always go back to it. And I can always read my journal or my notes, and then you can go forward again. But you're not stuck, attached to that one sentence or one idea, and you're hamster wheeling an axiom. Brad, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, who can you talk to psychiatrists have a long career of listening to patients that don't really have a problem. They just need someone to talk to. Yeah, a lot of people, that's an important thing. A lot of people, they just need someone to talk to. They need a friend. They find a psychiatrist, and a lot of them just go to a psychiatrist as a routine friend. They always have someone who understands them. And unfortunately, a lot of psychiatrists and therapists, they make regular bread and butter by having return friends come back to them, which I don't think is a good thing. A therapist, the psychotherapy industry, should be there to help people and then release. It's like a catch and release thing, you know, but not as an ongoing, you know, the way companies ask you to pay monthly subscription fees or insurance. It's like that ongoing thing. If you really want to help people, you help them now so they can move forward on their own, and then they can contribute. You don't keep them chained to a post with you every week where they come back and they're chained to that post for their whole life, and they always have problems in their life, in their relationship, whatever. Akarasan 1999. Who can I honestly talk to? Myself. Yeah, you can. I do that a lot, but let it out. Write. I mean, I write and produce videos, but I don't know about some people, but I find it very hard to be okay with just thoughts. I have to express them to organize my thoughts, because otherwise they're just feelings swimming around in your head. Like sort of feathers in the wind. It's kind of like, oh yeah, there's one, there's another one, what was that? And they're just circling around like a cyclone. So the ability to talk, write, and think and express those is the ability to organize your thoughts, and organizing yourself, how you think, speak, is a great way to sort of help you navigate. Create that map by which you can walk and talk and act in the world. Yeah, mountainmegatown says something to that. He says to Akaras in 1999, who says he talks to himself. Mountainmegatown says that's because you're the only one who listens. Oftentimes that's right, and that's why it's such a shame where some people, whether it's their family or friends, the only people they have aren't really that good for them. They drag them down to the mud all the time because that's where they want you. Because a lot of times, I've said it before, is in your little bubble, like your trip to work, the people at your workplace and your family and whatever friends you're lucky enough to have, that's it. Accidentally, you've stumbled across them and that's your routine. And a lot of times you don't know how to move beyond that. Like, how are you supposed to? Because deep down, we know that friends are organically made. You can't go out there like an anvil and like, hey, you want to be my friend? Hey, you want to be my friend? It has to naturally come by way of something that makes sense, that feels organic and natural. So, for instance, I wanted to express myself because I had no people to talk to and connect with my ideas and thoughts on this level. And I made some friends through this. But that was organic. I didn't kind of make a channel saying, although you could philosophically say I did, I made a channel to make friends. That might have been the result, but not the intent. But I've mentioned a few times that what your intention is, if you're leaning in a direction that you know is right, that's for you, the result's always going to be good stuff. So being productive with your hobbies and things will lead to good accomplishments. Don't focus on goals, focus on doing things that feel right, that you should do now. You know you should go for a walk. You know you shouldn't eat that 10th donut. What do you know you should do now? Do more of that. What are you interested in now? Do more of that. And the results will bear the fruits of that. That was a bit off tangent. Boffin says, hit the thumbs up button, guys. I agree. This is interesting. Web Palette Warrior says, I don't think you need to confide everything in the one person. You can spread it between friends and family with whom you know the conversation boundaries with. Exactly. I do this all the time. I'm a perfect example of this. I don't think there's really one person that I can tell everything to. Well, maybe one. But I know that for the longest time, yeah, I just had to spread things around, and that's fine, as long as I can sort of... But the hard thing is, imagine you've got the most important parts of you can not let out to anybody. This is why, again, I created my channel. These very deep things in this corner of me that to other people are just kind of, oh, that's interesting philosophy, or sort of those introspective ideas. Cute, interesting. They're not cute and interesting to me. They're fuel. They're nutrition. I need these things. I feel like I need them. So if you have to spread them around, you don't look, and that's fine. You're just going to add more stress to yourself by trying to find one person that's a Swiss Army knife that's got everything for every part of you, right? You know, a lot of people go looking for that in a woman. If you're lucky enough to find one, you found your Bigfoot. But be realistic. The best most of us can hope for, and it's probably a better way to go through life, is just to calmly accept the limits of conversation with people. And that means being astute enough to know yourself, how you speak, to sort of see who you can have certain conversations with. So I've got great friends in my life. Like, I can count them on one hand, but I don't have many, but they're good friends in my life, and I really cultivate that, and I try and take care of it. But they're not everything to me. Like, one friend is great, a really great friend, but I can't talk philosophically with them. Another couple of people I can, and so on and so forth. So I express myself in all aspects across the board, and that's fine. But don't bottle up the most important and the biggest parts of you. That's the hard thing. That's where people sort of become a pressure cooker. Grey Matters, thank you very much for the super chat. He said, "Hey human, checking from Canada for a dose of brain food." Thanks for chiming in. Fortis says, genius people often talk to themselves. I don't know if it's genius people. I know Nietzsche did, but he went crazy. He started talking to a pigeon by the end of his life and died alone. Marek says, the problem with talking to yourself is when you start answering yourself. Well, I think a lot of people answer themselves anyway, but they just have a crappy voice in their head. I mean, is it a problem? Think about it. Most people are hard on themselves. The voice they have in their head sometimes kicks them down, it tells them they're not good enough, you're an idiot, so on and so forth. But what about if that same voice in your head starts being in line with who you want to be? No, that was great, human. Awesome. Don't worry about it. That's fine. Is that a problem, or is that actually better than what it used to be, what most people sort of get stressed by? The voice is usually a negative one, and you can say that negative voice is someone that's trying to push you forward, like a parent doing the best for you, telling you, no, you're an idiot, don't touch the hot stove or whatever. But I'm saying, as you get older and you get experience, I found if that voice inside you is not the putting down voice anymore, but it's someone who's more simpatico with you, I think that's better. So is it crazy? Or is that actually progress? Amitia Thread says, human forces me to see him as another guy. I like you said that, because that was probably the main thing I saw when I first started to make YouTube content. I didn't show my face. I had a screen and I was talking about the ideas. And what I noticed was like a lot of guys, when we're stuck behind avatars, we let a lot of ourselves out. We let a lot of the frustration out, unhealthy stuff, but also we're letting a lot of healthy stuff out. We're expressing a lot that we never were before. The pressure cooker gets released. What I noticed was a lot of guys are fighting. And I noticed that a lot of guys, and I think Stardust said this to me as well, he couldn't understand that sometimes he made a video and people in the comments, their comments were almost like they weren't watching the video. They weren't listening to him. A lot of guys just want to express something. And what I noticed, the big difference between me from when I started making videos when I didn't show my face to when I did, not just that I had to be sort of more honest and more a human being, I couldn't hide behind anything, was that you guys, you can't just listen to my voice with nothing on screen, because then you can actually think that's the voice running through your head. And I might be helping you because my words might be more soothing and that's what you want to hear. But when you see my face talking too, you have to contend with me as a separate human being. So you have to work out problems yourself. So you can listen to me and say, a human thinks this way and that way. It's interesting. Maybe I should. Then you start thinking about the I. Whereas if I'm just a voice, if I'm not showing my face, you can just kind of hear my voice running through your head and then you think it's your voice. You start to subdue your superego and think that my voice is your superego because I'm sympathetic. But when I show myself as a person, you have to go, here's a human being. Here's another person just like me. What do I think? Then the I comes into it. It's not unconscious. What I noticed was that when I was showing my face finally, I was getting more people consciously listening to what I'm saying and consciously interacting with me as a person. Whereas when we're just disembodied voices and ideas swimming around, I think it doesn't help us feel less lonely, less confused. It's just more and more disembodied people. And still a lack of connection to anyone we can kind of call a human being. And don't get me wrong, I love these kind of interactions and the people I talk to, whether or not they show their faces, and I perfectly understand the reasons for it in today's world. But the ability to see another person is important because it helps you see yourself too. If we're all invisible people online with just blogs we read or voices we hear, it's too easy to hear them just as a voice going through your head or read them as thoughts going through your head. And so you just still feel alone. You don't feel connected to an external world with other people. Does that kind of make sense? So that's the big thing I noticed, that I was getting more conscious people listening to me, and I was talking with in my videos when I actually presented myself as much as a human being as I possibly can, like this. Without you being in front of me, I'm being as much of a human being given the technology we have. If we had 3D cameras where I could be a hologram, I'd probably creatively be interested enough to see if I could do that too. So my content is about sort of helping yourself as a person, thinking better as a man. And what better way than to actually be in front of other men and talk with other men face to face and talk about real stuff. Not talk about abstract, over the horizon, what's going to happen to the manosphere in 5 years, what do you think about politics in 10 years, what do you think about this and that, and big umbrella concepts. Like, no, talk about you, talk about the personal, talk about the human being. And then you'll start talking about yourself, thinking for yourself. What do I want to do? How do I think? What do I want to say? I'm not going to spit out memes when I'm talking with people, like bumper stickers. Like, women are this, men are this, the government's like this. No, you're going to start using your own words in real time because you're constantly talking as a self-referential I all the time. You're talking from the point of view of me, I. What do I think? I think this. Here's a thought, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Handsome Stranger says, therapist, they will listen as long as you're paying. Yeah. The moment you stop paying your therapist, you'll see how much of a friend they are. And he says that, I can't say the word, but ladies of the night who get paid They do that as well. The women who stand on corners in miniskirts. There's someone who's got a name like me. It's called the Human Term. He says, "Pleasure to meet you, brother." He even writes his screen name like I do. Boffin says, I've often heard it said that therapists get interested in the profession because they were dealing with problems of their own. Yes, exactly. I've met and I've gone out with 2 women in the industry, one a psychiatrist and one a trauma counsellor. And you can actually see in their personalities, and they've told me. I've yet to meet one, I think, in my personal life that didn't go in to answer their own questions because they were going through this stuff, like perhaps a lot of us. We're doing it on our own. That was their way of doing it on their own through the channel of a course or something sort of recognized and legitimate. I think it kind of helps people feel better about, I'm going to do this course, I'm going to understand myself, I'm really interested in it because it's affecting me, and by doing that, I want to help other people too. So it does help. It's well-meaning, but I think virtually all of them go through it to help themselves first. Some of them don't get through it, but some of them think, I've got this certificate, and now I've got a veneer of armor around me from which I can sit across a couch from somebody and not have to look at my own problems, and I feel a level of distance from my problems because I've got authority via a title or something. I don't know. But I think a lot of them are there because there's just you look at them online, therapists online, official therapists, if you meet them, if you start talking to them about subjects that you can tell they're not comfortable with, all of a sudden the person who was traumatized as a kid comes out. They haven't dealt with it, but they think that their position gives them some sort of ego authority to tell you what's right. And if you disagree, it's like, well, I'm a licensed therapist, human, and you're definitely wrong. I mean, what qualifications do you have, human? I don't think you're right. I think you're a misogynist. They're basically sort of talking down to you, telling you that their lived experience is right because they've got a qualification, and your one is probably wrong. Midtown Threads, I relate to human for his creativity. Well, interestingly enough, even guys who don't physically create stuff, like write, draw, or create videos or take pictures, the way people think interests me. If you're a creative thinker, open, philosophical, you're able to sort of get out from a subjective point of view, and you can always place yourself out as an observer. If you're a storyteller, you've got a good ability to do that. You can be the narrator, observing the scene, observing and writing down a conversation between person on the left and person on the right. Being that observer is, I think, a good benefit that writers have, and you can use it to your advantage. That's why I say, like, if you can and have the ability to write, to do it, because you can help yourself. You can start looking at your own problems like it's a narrative or a story, and you can start writing it down and working it out. That's a benefit writers have, I've noticed. McTell Biologic says, I reject the notion that men, quote unquote, don't connect with their feelings, unquote. Rather, men are conditioned and browbeaten not to share their feelings. Part of MGTOW is to reject this entirely. Yes, guys, don't reject your feelings. That's your intuition. Because a lot of times we go, men think, women feel. And so the moment you get a feeling, a lot of guys defensively will go, well, what does science say? What does math say? And they try and steer away from the source of the pain, which is probably feelings. Try and articulate by conversation, as though you're talking to a best friend, but from a logical masculine standpoint. Don't go to science And science can describe the terrain. Science is very helpful. Science can fill in gaps, but especially I hear guys that don't come to terms with their feelings and how to verbalize and converse around them, and have a lexicon by which to know how they feel, and they can actually tell you, how do you feel, human? I feel like A, B, and C, rather than, I don't know, man, life's just crap. Learn how to articulate your feelings right, speak better. Because your male intuition, your instinct, whatever you want to call it, don't call it feelings if that'll help you. But don't look to a tool like a calculator, like maths, like science, to explain everything. Those things are great. They're the things that men can understand more than women. But because we can more than women, it doesn't mean we should just use them exclusively. They're a tool by which that we probably have that a lot of women don't. But also, don't negate the biggest part of you, which is that of being a human being. I mean, a lot of guys that just rely on science and maths and kind of bumper sticker quotes from the manosphere, from guys that were smarter than them in history, to guide their life and nothing else. They don't want to think about things themselves or form their own thoughts or understand their own concepts and feelings. You can't rely on science and maths and the Stoic aphorisms of Marcus Aurelius when you're sitting in front of a girl or talking to a woman. All of a sudden, you don't remember anything from your, biological, social sciences-based library in your head when you're sitting in front of the computer like this. All of a sudden, when you're in front of someone you have feelings for, or you feel good about, or you're having fun with, it's just about interacting as a human being. So that's why I keep saying it's better that you learn how to think and speak as a human being yourself. So when you're in that environment, you can act like that too. But if you don't care about this stuff, and you only care about cold hard math and cold hard science, and you have those conversations exclusively online, and you don't have any friends, it's no wonder it's hard for you. It's harder for you out there. Just a spot of sunshine. There's a lot of reflection coming off these. That's why I like these better. These have a matte finish. And I broke them. Anyway. Red Coco says, do you have a video on book recommendations? I don't have a video on it. I did one video on minimalism. It's a couple of years ago. But go on my blog. I haven't updated my blog in a while. But I think down the bottom, I've got a list of books that I recommend because people always ask me about some. The link to my blog is in my About section on my YouTube channel. Again, different books for different things you need. You got to take the medicine you need, and that's with books too. Remember, guys, if you want to ask a question in the stream chat, make sure you highlight them with emojis. Put a couple of emojis beforehand or after, or the whole thing, before and after, just to kind of make it stick out visually for me so I see it's a question. David Little, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. He says, all my friends are in relationships and they ghosted me for a long time. Way too many single mothers. No one seemingly to talk to or understand me. Been there, man. Even most of my high school friends, once they got married, they got married friends. It's just the way it tends to go. I'm not saying it's right. I don't appreciate it because sometimes, like, they'll have parties for their kids. They'll get together, but a couple of the other guys who have kids, they all get to see each other. The friends catch up. And when I hear about it, they'll be like, yeah, sorry, man, we didn't invite you, but we just had a party for the kids and it was really for them. It's like, all right, thanks. But, you guys got to catch up who have kids, but one or two of us who don't have children, we didn't get to catch up with you guys. And I'm sure for the whole kid's birthday, all of you guys were hanging around each other talking. You weren't hanging around the kids. So, yeah, married people, they start sort of only having married friends, which is a shame. Because I know that, I know I've never been married, but even when I had a partner, I didn't care who I caught up with or who I invited. The close people in my life were the close people in my life, and I like catching up regardless. David, thanks for the super chat. He actually continues. He says, I'm 39 and single, and I feel like an island to myself. Yeah, again, a familiar feeling. Again, I got frustrated where I felt like that island, that I needed to sort of make myself not feel like that, because I was the only one. Because if you kind of stay as an island, it's just going to stay like that, especially if your life's not changing. And not that you need your life to change. Like, I know who I am and I like my life. But if there's an aspect you're tired of, you've outgrown, or you want to change, try and change it as much as you can. So if you want people to talk to, try and find those people to talk to online, or preferably offline, and keep that garden growing. Like, don't take your friends for granted. If they do take you for granted, don't be a doormat. Don't always make an effort with friends and family, and they never do. But I know what you mean. Like, you can feel like sort of you're alone in a bubble. Try and change that so it's not a bubble anymore. So it's not a cage. So how you might, like me, I just started to express myself. Initially I was writing and publishing little books to express my thoughts, and then you connect with readers or people who appreciate your work. Write a blog online. Start creating videos. Start posting more on Facebook. Connect with, in some way, do something creatively as well. That's a good way. Again, whether it's drawing, writing, video, photography, or whatever, and then place it somewhere, maybe on social media, but watch your use of it as a way of connecting with like-minded people, because a lot of times your hobbies will connect with people who have similar mental states and views of life as you do. So someone who's, cliche, someone who's into art and illustration, they'll tend to probably be an introvert if you're like that. So you're not going to get a lot of bimbos and gregarious party people who are going to be good artists. Being a proficient and good artist, an interested artist, necessitates being alone most of the time and liking being alone. So you're going to find more of your tribe by expressing and showcasing the things you like doing. So that's a way of connecting with people and not being that much of an island. Mr. Aussie Accent says, heavy deadlifts will teach you how to really talk to yourself. That's hilarious. That's great. 1, 2, 3. One more. A-hole. 5. Actually, it's not so funny. If you're at least talking to yourself in that way, reps, come on, one more, let's do this. At least you're motivating yourself. Like, that kind of friend's motivating, as long as he's not putting you down. It's like that's probably everyone kind of, there's a lot of people who say, I need a gym buddy. But if you can actually talk to yourself and count as you're doing your reps through a workout, there's a voice. See, guys, that's actually brilliant. I don't know if it's a video in and of itself because the point is too small, but it's a very important one, that talking to yourself when you're counting is an example of that voice that you're letting out. Now just think about this. If you're able to write and better know that voice and give it more of a vocabulary than 1, 2, 3, one more, keep going, more of a limited vocabulary than that, then you can start giving that person that can talk more of a vocabulary. Imagine how much better your life will be. Because a lot of people that go to the gym, as limited as their lexicon is with 1, 2, 3, 4, look at how much more, I wouldn't say well adjusted, but how much they're a little bit more grounded with the real world, even if they're very simple. There's a lot of gym bros that all they care about is, their looks, their car and women. But just think about how their character might be a little bit more settled in the real world just because they can say 1, 2, 3, 4, keep going. That's an interesting point. It's funny though, but I think there's a little bit underneath that too that's actually pretty serious and something to think about. Mastermind Rational says, deadlifts make me nauseous. Yeah, they can be dangerous too. Breathe, guys. Don't hold your breath. Some really nice conversations going on in the comments section. Am I pointing in the right direction? Yeah, I am. I should probably, if I'm going to look at the comments section, I should probably do that, shouldn't I? That makes more sense. Because then I'm looking. Nah, it feels odd. I've always done it like this. I don't like change. I like growth, but I don't like change if there's no real benefit. Mitch says, how do you respond to people who hit you up with, "Hi, how are you?" expecting you to ask the same back so they can talk about themselves non-reciprocally? I'd actually start being honest. If you don't feel good, tell them. Literally answer the questions. Be more literal. Don't rely on bumper sticker kind of, yeah, good, how are you? Sometimes I do this intentionally at the supermarket because the people at the cash register, often they have to greet like that, which is fine. Hi, how are you? And I'll say, how are you? I won't say good. And you hear them automatically say, oh, that's good. And they kind of catch themselves because they weren't listening to me. They're going through the motions. So consciously, I think consciously pay attention to what you're saying and consciously listen. Try and train yourself. Don't run on autopilot. If you run on autopilot, how you interact with people, you're going to just be led by the flow of conversation and how it should be going, and you're just going to retrieve bumper sticker quotes and memes. And it's a way that you're controlled by the system too, is when you're not thinking consciously now, how you're speaking, what you're listening to, how the conversation's going. Remember, guys, if you want to ask a question, put some emojis around your questions in the stream comments. Sam, I've seen a video you bought a new supercar. Bought it a little while ago. The Socrates of Athens. It's amazing how essential self-knowledge is. It is. Especially in today's world of confusion and stress and can't say this, can't do that. It's not what you said, it's how you said it. Or, I know it's not a bad word, but you can't say it because people feel bad. It's like we can't speak. How are we, like, I can't even talk about a problem by using the word. Like, for instance, you know, the S word, where people turn their lights out permanently in life. I can't mention the word here because the word gets me struck. So you can't even help people around the problem. We have to talk like the problem's not there. We can't say the word, oh, it makes such and such feel bad. Nancy doesn't like that word. Well, I don't care what Nancy likes. I want people to be better. I want to be better. I want people to have better conversations. I want to have better conversations. It's just annoying. Yeah, Jordan Peterson has a lot of skeletons in his closet, like the rest of us. Exactly. None of us are perfect, but at least he's being... One thing I respect about the guy is trying to be honest, or at least that's what I get from him. And you don't have to be an acolyte of anyone. I can cherry pick, you know, a video where Jordan Peterson talks about a certain thing, and on that topic, he's got a point. It doesn't mean I have to bow to the shrine of Jordan Peterson. I don't have a photo of him up on my wall that I pray to every day. But that's I think a good indication of you knowing yourself and knowing how you think and speak, is that I recognize that person's got something important to say, and I'll cherry pick that. Go around your life like a buffet and put things on your plate that serve you. Don't order a set menu. mountainmegatown says, while I started my channel with the rage exploding out of me, I've mellowed out a lot. Yeah, man, so have I. You guys have probably noticed. I don't think I was ever sort of raging, but I was very, when I kind of, I think it's common to take the step of actually expressing yourself by creating a channel, a website, a place on the internet to plant your stake down and say, I want to speak about this, or publishing a book means you have something you find important to say. And so it often does come out like a dam that's burst, but then once it's burst, it mellows out, as you said. So that's why I kept a lot of my older stuff up. It's because I'm still the same guy, and I want people to kind of see my progression. And I think the chronology helps, where they can see that, you know, you let some stuff out. You still believe in most of it, but you refine, you adjust, you grow. That's actually a good point. mountainmegatown sort of said, he said, hey guys, you know how women are always saying we can't stop talking about women? How about now? We are only talking about ourselves. That's a very good point. So imagine these voices, how we're talking. Imagine you were talking and thinking like this about your your issues with life. And it's not always about women. It's about how you interact, what you think, where your real problems lie. Like, I hate it that I can't make this decision, or what do I really want to do, or I don't like my job, or I can't tell things to this person puts me down, I don't belong in this community anymore, I really feel like moving. We're talking about ourselves. The more we can do this, and if you do talk about women, reference them, but always in relation to yourself, your problems, not women, but your problems with perhaps women, your problems with your job, what you think of. So the I always comes into it. I think this. But that's a very good point. We haven't really been talking about women much at all. We've touched on them. And something to keep in mind. It's always about you guys. It's not really about women. It's not really about your addiction. You know, you can't get fit. It's not about McDonald's. It's about something in you, obstructions, you know, past things that sort of don't let you move on, or that don't let you discipline yourself. You got to work that stuff out. All right, let's do a few responses. Marwan, he said to the last video, what if you've been raised by two dream killer parents? Yeah, and this is one of the points that it prompted me to make the video, was that that's probably one of the hardest, where you've got a single parent or two parents, which is even worse, in tandem, two people giving you a barrage of negativity, self-doubt. You can't do this. You're worthless. If you're an artist naturally, and your parents are constantly pushing you, like I've known one or two Chinese friends where their parents always push them to be doctors or, you know, engineers or things like that. But these guys were artists. And the courage it took for them to break away and finally do work that was them. They didn't want to be a doctor. They didn't want to be a lawyer. They didn't want to be a banker. So when you've got parents that really kind of, any sort of individual self that you want to sort of express, and you found, and you go, I love this about myself, I'm really naturally good at this. And another person says, no, you're not. You're being stupid. That's a very hard thing. If you've been raised by caregivers, you know, essentially these big giants when you're a kid that you look up to, that are there for your survival, your food and shelter, you love them, they protect you. This kind of push-pull, sadomasochistic sort of relationship, that's very, very hard. That's probably one of the hardest, where your parents aren't supportive of you. It's very hard later on to sort of have the courage to be the person you really want to be. Paul L says, in terms of who can you share your dreams with, who can you talk to? He says, who am I most open with? My significant other. Who can't I talk about certain things with? My significant other. Who has topics that are off limits? My significant other and me. This is kind of the mental anguish we put ourselves through. The closest person in our life for a lot of guys, i.e. your wife, your partner, your significant other, is like you spend all this time around them, but you can't talk to them. And this is what I realized. If I can't talk deeply about who I am, express those things with the person in my life, they don't care. If it's a one-way street there, or they disparage you and put you down, or you feel like they don't get you and you don't get them, what is the point if that's a big part of you? If understanding life and things around you is just such fuel, what are you doing with them? And he continues, he goes, I guess almost 100% of people in relationships would say the same. I don't know if 100, but I'd say like 99%. There are some things you just do not talk about if you want a relationship to survive. Yes, but also I'd encourage people to be completely and bluntly honest from the start and never let up, and always in conversation let that part of you out so they know that's a constant. Don't be the gentleman with a mask on in a suit and try and impress. Just be you, the way you are around your family and friends. And if you're around your family and friends, you can't say things. I mean, obviously, if you're a pyromaniac, it's hard for people to accept and be happy for you. It's like, oh, no, I just burnt a forest down. I'm saying be sensible. He says, paradoxically, that should be the one situation where nothing is barred. It is. It's really weird. The person you've shown through action in life, my significant other, this is the most important person in my life, but it's the least important person with my values and ethics and morals and things. It's a real head screw kind of, I can't do it. And I see so many guys that do that. They pick a nagging pretty little nothing, and they wonder why they're miserable. Better to be alone if you can't have a conversation or connect deeply with someone, if that's a big part of you and you need that in your life. If you're kind of an empty, superficial person, yeah, fine, get with another empty, superficial person, and then you can deal with the problems that will come around. Maybe you'll be compatible. You'll be lucky that way for two unthinking, superficial people. But if you've got some depth, good luck. DTH85 says it's easier to tear someone else's house down than build your own house. That's correct. A lot of people who are negative, whenever you want to convey new ideas or you've got happy news, their impulse is to tear you down, because if to them you feel like you're raising above them or you're leaving them behind, and so they want to pull you back. Don't go too far. Don't grow too much. I'll miss you. Lee says, I think it's about staying away from the negative, but more finding friends that understand your perspective and actively listening to you. Yes. Friends that help sharpen your thoughts. Yes. Even though they may disagree. Yes. But they're very rare to find those friends. But it shouldn't stop you in trying to find them. They understand your perspective and support it anyway. And this is why when I talk about, I know for me, about the only way I'd ever entertain the possibility of a relationship is if a woman understands this part of me, is open to interesting, creative discussions. I don't have to be exactly like them, but we can think similarly. We have similar values and ethics, but we can have an objective, live and let live. Understand that I'm a different person to them, and not be threatened by that. And people will say, well, good luck ever finding a relationship like that, human. I don't care. That's not the point. I know that my contentment and happiness in life will be either with that kind of unicorn or Bigfoot that probably doesn't exist, or I'll be on my own, which is good. But the point is, that's what's going to happen. So most likely you're going to be alone and with good people that make your life stable, or if you won the lottery, you'll find a partner that has a semblance of something like that. You don't just take something like you don't just buy an expensive car because you need to get from here to work. You don't pay that much of a cost. So if you need to get to work, you walk, you take the train, whatever, but you don't burden yourself with well, I guess I need to buy an expensive Lamborghini. B. Dangerfield, what advice would you give to a guy whose industry has been dominated by man-hating women? I've been in the Australian film industry my whole life and it's now completely unbearable. I get what you mean, man. I've been in the design field all my life and I worked in corporate and I got out for one of those major reasons. Advertising in the design field is predominantly women as well. Same as I'd imagine in the film industry too. So the arts are dominated by women. Maybe not so much in the upper areas because men tend to excel in those because they work harder. and put in more effort, and especially in a lot of those areas, they just seem to be better because of their work ethic and their capacity to sort of do those things, and they're very competitive too. But I got out because of that too. The HR, the political correctness. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Like, I just want to do good creative work, and you're being pummeled from every direction, and the way you have to kind of express yourself is ridiculous. Sorry, I'll turn that off. So Dangerfield, yeah, I get what you mean, man. Film industry, design industry, it's all the same. What I did is I took a break, and then I found a small company. So unfortunately, everything is a trade-off in life, as Thomas Sowell said. Where I was working in my industry, the pay was good, but everything else was garbage. The people, the political correctness, the environment, how you had to censor yourself and all that sort of stuff. And then I said, what's more important is how I live, how honestly I can live. And now everything in my life is well balanced. I love where I work. I like the people around me, my family, friends, what I do, sharing this stuff with you. All the work I put into my videos, I have more time for it. I love doing it. The only downside is I took a pay cut for working in this new environment, smaller company, part-time, but everything's better. So what's important to you? Really make it actionable. Don't just say stuff is important to you. Lean in the direction where you can actually realize and live a life that you'll be happier with. Like, you can sit there talking to your friends over a beer and saying, yeah, man, this is crap, this is crap, this is crap. If only, or one day when I do this, this, and this. If you really look at it on paper, and you could do it now or fairly soon, run towards it. Do whatever you can as soon as possible to pull the trigger, make a change. Life's too short. I would suggest, and you don't have to do it, is change your environment, change your world. Don't like your world, change your world. Andre says a lot of people give Jordan Peterson a hard time. I feel a bit sorry for him. Yeah, he's a multimillionaire now. You don't have to feel sorry for that side of him, but he's still a human being. He says, Peterson used to be worth paying attention to. Now he's a hollow shell of himself. Guys, I don't know. Like, I'd hate to think that I like my life now. I feel pretty good and strong, and I mean, I'm getting older, but I'd hate to think that if I fell over, that it would be disappointing, and kind of it would add more to my falling over to see people that kind of kick me when I'm down. So he's a human being. I'm not saying you need to follow him or do anything, but like, which one of us is perfect? If we were good and then all of a sudden we made a mistake, or we fell off our horse, or we were naked all of a sudden, or we got embarrassed and the world's laughing at you, you wouldn't like it either. What has he really done that's bad to you? You know, again, cherry pick. If he says things, don't care so much about who the message comes from. But if he says stuff that makes sense, take them for what they are, or ignore what doesn't work. But just because of what he's personally going through, I don't think it's a big reason to sort of throw him in the fire. I feel a bit of sympathy for the guy. The guy's searching a fair bit. It's easy to kind of say when he wasn't searching, where he was helping a lot. He was giving the world a fair bit. Now he needs a fair bit. Put yourself in his shoes. Look at the dynamic of people around him compared to before. Let's see if there's more. John B says, keep it to yourself. It's just simpler that way. I wanted to put this up. I think I mentioned it before. I don't think it's good to keep everything to yourself because it stays in your head like a herd of cats. You need to let it out on paper, with people, via your creativity. In some way, you need to express it. Now, some people say, well, you know, if you're creating something, or you're writing for yourself, or you're drawing for yourself, what's the point? If it's for you, you don't need to share it. It's so you have a conversation. You're a human being. Otherwise, like I said, a lot of people can't subdue the negative voices in their head. They don't know how to make sense of it. It keeps them up at night. It kicks them when they're down. So keeping it to yourself is not always, I know for me, it's not beneficial. I've seen the most benefit in my life is when I've let it out to people, on paper, to others, to an invisible audience, to something, and then it gives I get it back in some way. Question everything. This was a very, very astute comment I wanted to put up. Pay attention to this one, guys. He says, I have a house and some land in another country. When I talk to people about moving there, I get the reply, really? What would you do there? What about the language? Wouldn't you be lonely? All negative, none positive. I now realize I'm not useful to them in another country. That's a brilliant observation, where people who are always negative, they don't want you to leave their usefulness. That you're useful to them where you are, in the position you are. If you're broken after a relationship, you might sort of talk a lot with someone and they feel good about talking about heartbreak, or guys in the manosphere talking badly about women. The moment you're over it, your scars have healed, and you want to talk more broadly, it's kind of like they want to pull you back to talking about Bruford's Law, or male mother need, or women will never love you, or how women are just like this or that. You're not useful to them if you drift away. I know that I wasn't useful to a lot of people when I started showing my face, because, you know, that's the rule of MGTOW. You don't show your face in MGTOW. That kind of Fight Club mentality never sat well with me. I wanted to be, to express myself, to do what I wanted to do, video, and I didn't like the fact that someone was telling me I couldn't. These were the rules. It's like, I thought the whole point of MGTOW was that there were no rules. You do your own thing and you go your own way. So that was a great comment. People aren't useful to, you aren't useful to people when you're starting to move away from them, even in happiness. That's why they try and tear you down or pull you back down to where they like you. Kubasniak says, don't tell anyone your dreams while you're working or not on them. Your brain acts as if you're rewarded, and already did those while sharing with others. That's my experience. Yeah, that's a tricky one too. I've noticed that too. When I'm creating something, when I'm writing, when I'm doing something, I'm excited about it. If I'm letting it out to a person talking about it, I let a lot of that energy out, then I get lazy in actually completing the work. So that's a very good point. Bob B says, we need to be unaware that the person we're asking, we need to be aware that the person we're asking advice from may not be the most helpful to us, even if they have knowledge on the subject. A truly disinterested party may be the best. Also, that many people just can't be trusted. Peace. That's a very good point, because if you're talking to someone who's very versed in a topic, like I mentioned the manosphere, they want to talk in their point of view because they want to maybe help, and they have a lot of knowledge, and they don't want to kind of talk in a more nuanced, open-ended point of view, like they're learning in the conversation with you by listening to your point of view. So sometimes a disinterested party may actually be the best thing. This is a very good point too. If you know when you talk to someone that they're always going to talk in exactly the same way, and they're very pig-headed and they only see things one way, and they're not open to going, oh, look, you have a point, and they don't listen, they just want to talk at you, don't go to them, especially if you're trying to work things out or try and find another path. As Bob B says, a truly disinterested party may be the best sometimes. If you know someone who's just simply an open-minded person, who's an easygoing, very that kind of personality, they might actually be the best person to open up to if you're trying to find a new direction and you're stuck in a rut or something. Brian C says, my experience with doubters has been that they aren't necessarily doubting you. It's merely a reflection of their shortcomings and self-doubt that is projected towards you. Yeah, A lot of people's insecurities come out at you in the form of doubts and putting down and anger and being ticked off. I believe, he continues, I believe that if you share something personal with someone you feel close to or you feel like you have a connection with, I think it's important not to look for any validation regardless of your bond with them. That's a tough one, especially if you care about them. Because I know with myself, if I care about the person, my instinct is to care about what they say, and I take it personally because they are personal to me. There's a personal relationship. He continues, because when you expect someone to act or react a certain way, you become vulnerable and start to doubt yourself. That's true, but also, why would you be talking to them about something important to you? You wouldn't care. You'd be working it out yourself. That's a tricky one, but it's valid at the same time. You wouldn't be talking to people about things that are important to you if you didn't value their opinion and in some way, i.e. they're important to you. So I get it, but that's a tricky one. Slaying the King says, I'm now 51, but when I was 25, I had a great friend who totally blanked me after I told him me and my then girlfriend had bought a house together. I haven't heard from him since. Like others have said, when good things happen to you or you're making positive progress in your life, some friends just don't know what to do with that information, and it can turn to envy, jealousy, or resentment. Yes, very much so. When you're not exactly a carbon copy of them where they are, especially if they're in their little bubble of pain or limited sort of very myopic view of the world, then they will put you down, especially if they see you're not asking for their opinion. You're just telling them, you're expressing, I'm happy and I'm going in this direction. They will want to put you down because they're not happy. Again, you're not useful to them. You're drifting away. That's the survival mechanism of them coming out in the guise of, I'm just being honest. I'm just being helpful. I'm just looking out for you. I wouldn't be a friend if I didn't tell you these things. I noticed it again when I showed my face. I got a lot of negativity. When people found out I had a girlfriend in the past, while I was making content, I was a sellout in some way. So if you change, if you find happiness in a non-formal way in the community, like there's rules, if you step outside the rules, though you still want to engage in that environment with people, you want to engage as an individual who's not a carbon copy of everyone else. People who are very lemming-like in their bubble, they're very myopic. They don't like it when you got different bows to your, what's the word? You've got different ways of thinking about things. You take risks. You make your own decisions in real time. You're curious. Yeah, why not this? Let me give this a shot. You know what you're saying makes sense, but I want to give this a shot because I trust my instincts. I want to see if I can trust my instincts. And I'm being open about this, guys. If I go in that direction and I fall over, I'm going to be open and say, yeah, I effed up. You guys were right. Or, you know what? It wasn't as bad as I thought. And here's what I've learned coming back to friends and telling them, helping with information firsthand from your own empirical life. Your not mistakes, but things you've learnt. So you don't get a lot of first-hand experience from people who play it completely safe, that don't engage with life. So if anything, when you see a person's truly happy, if you care about them, and even if you don't agree with them, or it's not your life, like let's put a sort of like an obvious, probably not a politically correct example forward. It's like, say you grew up with a friend, he's one of your best friends, and all of a sudden he comes out of the closet and he's gay, and all of a sudden you ostracize him, but it's the same person. But you could see he's happy that he's come out and he just wants a different life. But you don't have to join him in that life. You can sort of just say, well, I'm happy that you're happy. If you can actually see they're happy, have that live and let live attitude, that a person's, you don't have to own their happiness. You can sit back and be the observer and be happy for them. Sure, you offer them any advice where you think, well, if they're going to start changing their life where they might actually be unhappy given their personality, that's different. But be a bit more objective, guys, especially if you're sort of part of my channel. I'd hope you want to be more for your own sake as well as the people around you. Wildcat says, society polices itself like a living organism. Yes, this is a good macro point of view. If you do anything outside the ordinary, then you are viewed as a rogue cell, and people will try to pull you back into line by applying subtle or not so subtle social pressure. They don't even know they are doing it. I think could be instinctive. Yeah, survival mechanism. So you can look at society now as a nervous survival mechanism, as like an organism, as like a macro example of the micro of the person. So the same way an individual person will pull you back because of a survival instinct, something in themselves, or they see, you know, you've got a relationship with them in your life, and if you start changing it, the human brain, which is a pattern recognition thing, is thinking, hang on a minute, you were this kind of person yesterday, and you were in my life, and you're important, and you helped me survive. You're part of my life. Now you're changing, and now there's an uncertainty going forward if you're part of my life. I don't like that. I want you back where you're understandable, completely understandable and useful to me. I think that's where the instinct comes from. So let's get on to any remaining questions in the stream, guys. Remember, bracket them with emojis so I can see them. Glass empty. One of the most heartbreaking moments was when I let out my problems to my mother and she didn't care. Why did we lose our connection to family? Maybe sort of you've grown. You finally came out with a side of you that you thought that, given that they cared about all other aspects of your life and they were there for you and all that, you'd be surprised. Some people do not care at all about certain parts of your life, or you grow into, or you reveal a part of you that's always been dormant, but you've never had the courage to express to anyone, and you finally do to people you thought cared, and they don't. Again, not everyone is a Swiss Army knife. That's why I'm always advocating being more and more expressively honest, especially about the important things and how you want to live, because then you'll be able to find people more readily with whom you can express the important parts of your life. If you keep them hidden, you might be around people that just structurally, you know, food, shelter, low-level Maslow need kind of ways that are there. But if you're trying to sort of go higher and consciously sort of evolve and live your life a bit more philosophically, morally, and especially haptically in life, like in a very more tactile, actionable way, those people just aren't that useful. They're good for the low-level stuff. They're good for comfort food, but they're not good for kind of high-level nutrition that you need. Hit the like and subscribe, guys. It's free. Success Paul says, that was a good stream you had with Hammerhand and Hamster. Yeah, that was cool. That's the first time I've actually met the two guys. Good guys. I'd like to have a longer maybe chat with them, especially Hamster, but I think he was tired. But it's our time zone difference too. But I'd like to have a nice D&M with the Hamster. He sounds like he's got a lot of experience in life. I always like learning from people with a lot of experience and different experience to me. They just see things differently, even if it's on the same topic. This is the thing. You look very closely at your own things and you look at them, like you look at this cup from every angle, and then someone comes along with another cup of a different color. It's still a cup. And you go, cool. Anyway, stupid analogy, but you get my drift. David Little, thanks for the super chat. He said, also, I find married men are super competitive in cooperative situations. Married women trying to set you up with their miserable single friends. Yeah, people try and pull you into their... I think they want you to be familiar to them, and so they're trying to pull you into their world, and they don't even know if their world's great. And it's almost like not having to deal with their problems. If they can get more people in their mess, it feels normal to them. If every couple is like them, then that's just normal. That's life. But you notice when most couples who have problems, they come across a couple that's, the couple seem like best friends. They're in love. There's not a problem. The wife loves, respects, and defends the husband. He does the same for her. They've got a happy... There's a resentment because, like, they're really odd. Oh, no, it's an act. Oh, they're so up themselves. They can't be that happy. Like, I hate how fake they are. No, it's because you guys have a crappier life. High Plains Bear, thank you for the super chat, man. Let me know your final questions, guys. Let's start hitting the finish line of this stream. The chat jumped, so I might have missed a few of the comments, guys, or some of the super chats. So I apologize. So if you've actually submitted a super chat donation and there was a question with it, please put some emojis next to your questions and resubmit it in the chat again, and I'll try and get to it before the end. Voice of Reason says, how will you be judging your life when you are 80? What do you expect? Any regrets? Did we do right? That's hard. All I know is that the best chance of judging my life as being right is doing as right as I can now, not tolerating life and thinking that my reward will be later. Because you're not going to be the same person later. You'll be the same person now because that's all you are. So living the life you want to live now in accordance with your values now, and fine-tuning them when you feel you need to, by being honest as you move forward, that's the best chance of you being as happy with your life as you can. Like even me, years ago when I knew myself less, I still trusted my instincts. So I can look back, not really regretting, even if if I had a time machine, I would go back and I'd do things slightly differently. Sure. But I don't regret them because at the time, I did the best I could with how I felt, and I was trying to be as honest as I could. The worst is when you're acting out of character and doing things that other people think you should do, and tolerating life and not really being as honest as the capacity that you can in the moment. So I think that's the best we can do. I have no idea how I'll think about my life when I'm 80. But I don't really look back on my life with a lot of depressive kind of regret. Sure, I'd do things differently if I had my brain now, if I could go back in the time machine, but do as best you can. The more you're interested in these topics and the more you develop your own moral philosophy and practice that ethically in the world, I think that's the best you can do. It helps you, and then it benefits the people around you too. John, thank you for the donation. He says, shout out from the coach gang. Thanks, man. David says, I noticed that our YouTube forums frequently repeat many of the same negative themes. It would be so good if some of that could be redirected towards ways to encourage hope. Yes, exactly. Or, see, the thing is, it's one of these nuanced, tricky things where if you're going through pain, sometimes someone who's always smiling and upbeat can come off as condescending. You want to put a Band-Aid on the pain or the scar first. You know, you're hemorrhaging. That's the trick, to encourage hope, but you don't want to ignore what's going on. If you're in pain, if you need a conversation, you need someone to talk to, you need help, you need a friend. You don't need aphorisms and bumper sticker memes thrown at you. You need an actual human being. So that's a tricky thing. But I agree. I really don't have much to say to people who are always throwing mud at women and relationships and the government and the left and the right and the New World Order and all this kind of umbrella stuff, because it's conveniently distracting away from, like, is your life perfect? If it's not, fix that first and then then go forward and deal with those things, but have a good center. But definitely, not just encouraging hope. What did Nietzsche say? Hope is the worst of all man's attributes because it increases suffering, because it's always future. The more you can actually be anchored in the present and deal with now, how you think now, what you believe now, what you want to say now, how you want to live now, when you walk out that door, where you want to go now, who you love now, who you don't, who you avoid, etc., etc. Hope can actually be suffering if you're not anchored in who you are and your moral philosophy now. So, but when a person's going through hopelessness, hope in the form of a direction, a friend, helping someone stand up, so to speak, that can be good. Encouragement, will, direction, honesty, facing things, those things. But hope, depending on how you look at them, may or may not be helpful. But I agree. I really don't like that certain people are always just talking negatively and never constructively. Maybe instead of hope, constructive would be a better word that I would use. But I agree. I don't think much of channels that all they do is they hit repeat on the same 10 mudslinging topics. You know, I'm perfect, the world or women are bad. Really? Yeah, this is a good point. Andy Baby says, women don't breed with artists. This is true. Generally speaking, philosophically speaking, you know, some people will be literal. I'm with an artist and we have a kid. Okay. We're talking philosophically. Luckily, I'm an artist who doesn't want to breed. So even if I wanted to breed. Billy the Goat says, dream killers want you to be beneath them. Yeah, the fear you're leaving them. Piera831 says, chip in effers. Thanks for the donation. At the very least, guys, just hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to my channel. Make sure you got the notification bell. Helps me out. It's free. But thanks to all you guys who have donated this month through PayPal, Patreon, and through the Super Chat. It's much appreciated. I chuck it all back into gear and funnel it back into this. I mean, I spend virtually the bulk of my week passionately writing and expressing thoughts and producing videos because I love doing it. And then the consequence is a community of really cool guys like yourselves, and the comments, the helpful comments underneath the videos. It's probably my favorite thing. The information being spread and the conversation between men being shared around in the comments, circulating around video topics in these streams. KG says, but how can you, and I think this guy's Asian, he says, how can you be a good Asian son if you're not a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or corporate salaryman? Yeah. I see a lot of pressure with Asian guys and friends I know. Their mothers and wives, it's a real matriarchy. They have to be a lot of them bow down to the women in their lives a lot. They love their mothers and their wives, but their mothers and their wives are really sort of forceful. They rule everything. And sometimes you see them explode. It's been surprising to me where the Asian friends I have, they're really, really nice guys. They're really warm. They're intellectually curious, and they're very friendly. But with their wives, they're pushovers, a lot of them. But then they'll speak up to you, like when you're with a group of friends, they'll get really angry and you think, whoa, for a really nice guy, you really have a bit of fire there. But they tell me they never show that to their wives or mothers. It's forbidden. They're really kind of standing up for themselves, that life. I don't really think comes naturally to Asian men with their women. It's very strange to observe. I've observed it in my personal life. David said, I think I've one friend who I'd consider like that. We traveled together and went to uni, and he'll help me and I helped him with different aspects of life. So yeah, find out who your real deep friends are. Friends that you can talk to and have great, interesting conversations and that reflect your moral philosophy. Surface friends, and unfortunately some of the people from high school, they might be like a comfort, their comfort food, but they might not be nutrition anymore. They might have grown into a different part of life. They're a family salaryman, and you might be something different. You've taken different roads. Higgledy-piggledy, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. You're the best. Stoic Monk, any updates on getting a dog? Speaking of having someone to talk to, I'll definitely be getting a dog in the future. At the moment, my instincts are telling me still it's not right. There's a few things I want to, and even structurally around my house, I haven't dog-proofed one major side of the fence. A dog would be able to escape, and I know I'd want to get a puppy and raise it from young. And so the first couple of years, by the time it gets used to its boundaries and me and what its life is, it's just going to be a handful. And that part of me is fairly reticent. That first year or so. I mean, it's one reason I've never wanted children. But yeah, I'll definitely get a dog, but just not right now. But I like taking my time to kind of find out what dog I might like in the future. Mr. Smith, the pathogenesis of vulnerability when men open up. I think that was the video by Coterie. Good video. It's an old one. Okay, guys, last questions, and then let's call it a day or a night, depending on where you are. MGTOW by Logic says, how much of the difficulty in talking to people originates in their unwillingness to listen and hostility at your shaming as their own defense mechanism, laziness, something else? Well, yeah, like you can't tell where it comes from, but you should be able to trust your instincts and know whether there's no point talking to this person. This person doesn't want to have a conversation. They want to have a debate. Just calibrate yourself to the simplicity of, I want to have a conversation about this with someone. I don't want to tell them what to do. I don't want someone to tell me what to do. I want to converse about this. I want to clarify my thoughts. I want to share my thoughts. But if you're with someone and you know they always want to debate, they're always negative, they're always contrarian. You know, you say black, they say white. Whenever you talk about up, they always come back with down. It's like you can't have a conversation with that person. It's always like a sword fight with them. Any last questions? MGTW by Logic says, I find that even friends either quickly run out of patience or just don't want to listen. They usually can't wait to share their own issues, though. They ignore my advice on top of that. Yeah, I think going back to Jordan Peterson, that was an example on his video. If you look up how to tell who your friends are, he says that a good friend doesn't want to just talk about themselves. Like a good friend that you can open up to, they actually listen. You just don't mention a topic that is constantly just stimulating them to talk about themselves. That kind of person is irritating. And especially when you're trying to work your problems out and you can tell the other person just isn't listening. Ashcroft says, Human, I've always wanted to be a dad someday, but with how relationships and marriage have no meaning in the current culture, should I give up? I'm not going to tell you to give up on your dreams, man, but I understand how difficult it is. I say to guys, I realize I'm not the middle of the bell curve because most people want to reproduce, men and women. Most guys want to be fathers. I just never had that wire. I never had that switch, that chip. But I'd say your best bet is to have a very solid moral philosophy and not accept anything otherwise. Have a realistic one. Don't kind of be a slob and you don't do anything for yourself and you're very lazy, but you expect an intelligent, hardworking Victoria's Secret supermodel that is the envy of everyone and she does everything for you. She cooks, she's great in bed, blah, 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 blah. She's ridiculously and unrealistically perfect, right? Don't have those standards, but standards of you want a kind person, a decent person for you, someone who would reflect those values also as a mother, blah, blah, blah. Like very, very rational, grounded standards by which you'd want to be a father with a woman, for her to be the mother, for you to raise your kids. And if nothing passes that, not neurotically and sort of not wearing a tinfoil hat when you're going out dating, but being very natural and having a solid moral philosophy by which to judge women, not judging them with your hormones as much as you can, as much as you can keep intruding with your values by which to judge a woman's suitability. That's the best chance you've got. Don't get carried around by your hormones. There's too many single stripper mums out there which men have tried to turn into wives or have children with. Or they never wanted any of that and she just made them dads. But that's what I mean about using your judgment. Be very, very ruthless in, especially in today's environment. Don't accept anything other than the very base necessities for a long-term relationship. You know, kindness, values, empathy, blah, 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 blah. Almost impossible to find, but don't accept anything less as human qualities. Who cares how she dresses? how good looking she is, how great in bed she is. Doesn't matter. You throw a rock at any woman on Instagram and you can get the same thing out of all of them. What makes them different enough to bear your child if you want to have children? Sam the man says, if a friend does not like your success, are they really your friend? That's a good point. Quite simply, no. In that comment, if they don't like your success, are they a friend? But that's true. But I'm more talking about you're about to embark on something where you really want personal success for yourself, or you're really happy, and they're just kind of trying to pull you down and be a downer, and they don't want you to take it's not even anything risky like jumping out of a plane with a parachute. It might be jumping out of a plane with a parachute. It might be moving somewhere else to the unknown, because they don't like the unknown, or they want the comfort of having you where they want you. They don't want you to grow. That's the kind of thing. But if you're happy, especially if you're happy in life, and a person is just constantly putting you down and making you unhappy, but they can't tell you rationally why, then yeah, they're not a real friend. That's the other thing. Try and pick good friends. Because if you're going to need them one day, or if you'd like to think you can count on them one day, make sure you pick good ones. And you pick them based on your values. And you know your values by knowing them yourself. How you think, how you speak, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is a good point. Sam the man says a lot of people just want to spread drama to stimulate good conversation and gossip. A lot of women love doing this too. A lot of them are contrarian to each other because it stimulates that drama of, oh my God, did you hear what? I can't believe you said that. It's a lot of the reality TVs based on that, raising your eyebrow, something shocking that someone says. Whereas I think men get off on building rational arguments that just kind of swell and keep growing. It's like we're talking about something important and then someone says, oh, what about this? Or what about this? And it just kind of keeps swelling in that same direction and adding to that one direction of a conversation. Whereas a lot of women's conversations, from what I've heard and other women have told me, even if it's interesting to them and they have fun, it's kind of like, how about this? And shock value and drama and, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Oh, you're such a bitch or whatever. Like they just like shock value coming in from every direction, and no linear conversation, no building, no growth in the discussion. Yeah, some people just want drama, and they don't know why they get stimulated by negativity. They just know that when I'm dramatic, when I throw in poison into the well, when I'm negative, it's a titillating conversation, and that's all they care about. They only care about the stimulation of the conversation, not the quality of that stimulation. Is it good? Is it growth? Or is it just agitation? You know, I like poking bears. You know, I like slapping dogs then trying to run away. I like the thrill of being chased. That might be another thing, an instinct with a lot of women, is that because they like being pursued, they like doing that in conversation, like poking and running. I don't know. It just popped into my head. I don't think we've really talked about women till now. Is that a record? 2 hours into a conversation in the manosphere. Mr. Highway, hey man, thanks for the super chat. Sup, what the heck, surprise stream, subhuman. Yeah, sorry, I apologize at the start. I prepared all my thumbnails and all the videos and everything, and this time I did the thumbnail on Instagram, I did the thumbnail on my community section, I did like a little story, so I did everything, and I saved the video thumbnail on the main video part of my channel for last. And by the time I got to it, I completely forgot. Like I set up everything. I told everyone about it except as a video thumbnail on my homepage of my channel. And so when I went to log in today, and I usually, and the video is prepared, it's usually there, and it wasn't. I'm thinking, what's going on? It disappeared. And I'm thinking, man, I didn't even set it up. I told everyone about it in all these other social media platforms, but I didn't put the thumbnail on my YouTube page. Sorry, man. It was a bit of a surprise one. But I'll make sure I won't do that. I'll do the thumbnail to the video first, and I'll put that up first and foremost. Yeah, hope you're well, Mr. Highway. Hit the like button, guys. Subscribe. It's free. Yeah, that's a good book, by the way. MGTOW by Logic says, check out The Manipulated Man by Esther Villar. Great book. John says, how does one gainer post crimson-coloured pill purpose past video games and fapping if that is what makes you happy? I have money. I have things like cars and things that go pop that you hold in your hand. I can't even say the word, but have no motivation for a purpose. I think purpose gets thrown around because it's so nebulous and it sounds kind of philosophical. But if it's making you happy, you can sleep at night and you're quite peaceful. Who cares what other people think? If you're worried about your own motivation, keep doing what you're doing, but do different things. So if you like video games, keep playing different video games. Engage in video game forums. It's not easy to make video games, but program, character design, I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here, but lean in the direction of what you're already interested in. And if you're already doing a lot of it, put another feather to the bow of like in whatever you're already interested in, because sometimes you can find something else that's tangentially kind of connected. It's an open-ended question how to get out of a rut. I've done 1 or 2 videos. I can only tell you what works for me. Have a look at some of those videos, but off the top of my head is just do what's you, but do it from another perspective, or do something else connected to what you already like doing, or something that's associated with what you already know you like, or what you've always been interested in, but just never gotten around to. Let's see. Any more questions? Warhammer says, have you gotten Crimson Thing Rage Part 2? Oh, have I experienced the rage a second time around? Annoyance, but not the intensity of the unplugging moment. Not myself, because I'm a bit of a control freak. I don't want whatever I don't want again. If I come anywhere near it, I don't want to re-experience the same thing. So it'll be lesser than, or I'll try and avoid it as much as possible. This is a good point. Mastermind Rational says, if you ladies want to be treated like a person, don't wear revealing clothing. Yeah, you'll just be an object then. You can't fish with your body and then complain that they don't see your mind. I think women love the surprise of romanticism. like telling people, oh, we met in this really obscure way, or like you can't romantically, in their world, it's boring to tell a story if you just kind of met very boringly. Like our parents introduced us, we grew up together, and we've just always been together, and like, you know, it's nothing. But the really odd, lucky story of, I never ever dated anyone, I was never in love, and then I gave up at almost 50, and then I found the love of my life, and we had kids when we were 55, and, you know, this Hail Mary fluke, that's romantic to a woman. So I think it's the same with when they wear revealing clothing. They think that, I'll attract a man this way, but somehow the fluke will be he'll appreciate my mind and personality. But really, how many women do you know, if you're fairly intelligent or philosophically inclined, that you can have a deep conversation with that is a knockout in a miniskirt who looks like a brainless bimbo, or someone who's a Victoria's Secret model who's got a 3-digit IQ and above? Come on. Like you want to live your life in the low probability mode, or you want to live your life more calmly in where it's kind of more highly likely, where you'll succeed. Andy says, women can be transient, but kids is forever. Having kids is transcending death. Yeah, perhaps. I'm not a big... I've never kind of felt that eternity project with kids. Sorry, it's just me. I'm not wired that way. Like I've never had that chip where I want to leave something behind in the form of another me, propagating me through another person. I know sort of nature does that in a subliminal way, but... Andy Babe says, why the assumption that the women you breed with needs to be your soulmate? Doesn't, but in today's world, you can't just kind of like our ancestors breed, walk away and continue to live your life. They're an anchor behind you that slows your life down today with laws and regulations and payments, and you've got to go to work and you've got alimony and child support. So back in the day, yeah, you could breed and move on with your life. They don't need to be your soulmate. You can love them and leave them. You can propagate the species. But you need to really pay attention if you're going to be stuck with someone in your life. Not that they, you know, you're lucky if they do become some sort of quote-unquote soulmate, but they need to sort of mirror a large, if not a significant proportion of your values and who you are characteristically, I think. What's the point otherwise? You're just going to go through a tragic, awful, soul-destroying life. Savage Chill, thank you very much for the Super Chat donation. And his comment is, hey human, how are you? I'm good. On that note, I wanted to ask, what would be a good answer to having to choose between two lives that may conflict? For example, myself, art and law enforcement. Yeah, law enforcement takes a lot of time and energy out of it. Law enforcement, I'd say, and I've had one or two friends who have been in that field, it affects your life cognitively. It's going to affect what direction you start expressing your art, how you see the world. A lot of people who have been in law enforcement, they see pain, they get numb to parts of beauty in life that they would have been able to express in a different way had they just been artists. And like myself, I'm primarily an artist who works a part-time job. Whereas if you're a full-time law enforcement officer and you're pummeled with pain and conflict and the worst aspects of human existence, not philosophically, but haptically, like you're smashed by it psychically, you feel it, you know, blood on you, trauma, pain, day in, day out, car accidents, going to them, domestic stuff happening. It's just and it's not so much hope, but which one's more important? Like, what kind of will and hope and humanity and stuff that you would have otherwise wanted to put into your art, how is it going to be suffered and cauterized by being in so much of a full-time law enforcement job? And the political correctness and that's a hard one. There are two opposing things. I would just say you've got to make a choice, man. You can't live on the fence, otherwise you're going to stay stationary. Look, the fact that you've got art as one, I'd say, like, maybe you've got a big human aspect to you as an artist that you want to express as in law enforcement, but how much of it is actually going to be taken aback? Maybe you can dip your toe in law enforcement in a small way while you're going through the training. Try and do art on the side. I'm not sure. If you have to satisfy your curiosity, try and do them both in tandem, or do a bit of art now, see how you go in a year, and then try and get into law enforcement if art isn't serving you, or vice versa. But that's a hard one because they pull in opposite directions. I don't know if I can give you a clear-cut answer, but maybe some of what I said can give you food for thought. Michael says, just pay for SEX when you want, otherwise MGTOW. That's a hard one. I don't really believe men want SEX. They want more than that. They want some sort of a connection with a woman that just a plain transaction won't give you. Otherwise, all guys would just go. I mean, like, paying for SEX has been around. It's the oldest. Okay, it's not the. It's the second oldest profession in existence. So if it was that popular, we'd just be doing it all the time. We wouldn't care. But men need more to feel fulfilled than just paying for it. And I know men pay for it in a lot of ways when you get into a relationship and when you're married. I get it. But just doing the transaction, for a lot of guys, it's fun. And it does give you freedom. But if it really doesn't work for you, don't lie to yourself either. If you can do it, more power to you. John says, reading list. Yeah, on my blog at the bottom, I think, still. A person mentioned a good book before, The Manipulated Man by Esther Villar. That's a good one too. All right, guys, I think that's about it. Really good stream today. A lot of good, useful content. I thought this was a really important thing to talk about, where we're kept hunched over, closed in our bubble, unexpressive, when you can't actually express the things where you want to come out and sort of take those steps forward in life and go your way and express them with people openly as a human being, when you can't even do it with who you think are friends because they keep pulling you down. A friend isn't there just for for bad times. They're there for good times, to celebrate with you, not just to warn you and pull you down and deter you from any kind of happiness. Constructive criticism, yes, but criticism as a blanket knee-jerk reaction to everything you say when you're happy, you don't need those friends. So I thought it was a really good topic to discuss, and continue to discuss them in the comments section. Give us a thumbs up, hit the notification bell, and subscribe. It's all free, guys. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you very soon. I'll catch you later.